Hello and welcome back to These Blind Eyes 6580. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share the videos, check out the podcasts, Little MB, and Seeking God with Blind Eyes for those of you who are religious. Now, today I am going to be doing some cinnamon rolls, not made from scratch. They are Pillsberry Cinnamon Rolls with icing. If there is a size to them, the container does not say. It comes in a cylindrical container, kind of like the biscuits that I did for the sausage, egg, and cheese biscuits. If they have a size, I would call them small. First thing you need to do is preheat your oven to 375, and this is just for the Pillsbury. I'm explaining what I'm doing just for one, to have something to explain, but for two, in case you get the Pillsbury, you don't have to worry if you don't have somebody there who can see and read them to you, or if you don't have one of the apps like Seeing AI that will scan and read all that stuff to you. So there's two sets of cooking directions, so you need to pay attention to what you're doing with this. Now, the first set's what I'm doing. I'm using a greased non-stick cookie sheet. Even though it's non-stick, I still spray it down with Pam. Since I can't see, just to make sure it's all covered, I use my hands to smear it around the edges and make sure everything is covered. For this, it's 10 to 12 minutes. Now, there's also instructions for if you're going to use a casserole dish or a pie pan to make these. You say, well, what's the difference? A cookie sheet, the edge is much lower. The sides to it are. They are a half inch, maybe an inch. Pie pans and casserole dishes are much deeper, so it takes longer to cook. So if you're going with the casserole dish or pie pans, it's 15 to 17 minutes. Once again, I'm using the cookie sheet. I'm doing two containers. I'm doing two cylindrical containers of these rolls. I don't even know how many that is. Hold on. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Hold on, let me try that again. Okay, so that's 5. There's 10. There's 12. I believe it's 16, so 8 per roll. All right. It says 2 inches apart. It doesn't have to be exact, but I just put them all on and move them around to where they're pretty much equivalent as far as how much space is between them. Now, these do have tops and bottoms to it, at least I believe they do. How can you tell it apart? Well, they come with icing. The icing's in a metal container at the bottom of the roll. Now you need to be careful because both my rolls, even though it's got a lid to the icing, it's not sealed to the container of icing. It's just a metal lid that fits into it. Both rolls, that lid was sticking to my cinnamon rolls. So beware of that. So what I'm going to do now, you need to know too, these do not peel apart like the biscuits do. I have some that are a nasty mess. For me, personally, I don't care how they look. For one, I'm blind and can't tell. For two, you shouldn't let that bother you when it comes to eating food. Anyways, what works the best is when you can find a little gap between two of the rolls. I work my thumb between it, separating it at the center and all that kind of stuff. You're still going to have some of them that are sticking together, and you just kind of got to tear it apart and hope for the best and put them together or whatever. There's just no way around it, so don't get disheartened if you're having to deal with that. So since I am doing 2 rolls, typically if I was going to do one, I'd follow the instructions, like I say, 10 to 12 minutes, and just go with 10 minutes. I am going to start off for 12 minutes. Now, if they start smelling too strong to me, I'm going to go ahead and take them out ahead of time. But since it's twice the number of rolls, twice the number of things on the cookie sheet, sometimes it can take just a minute or two longer. So my timer's going to get set for 12 minutes. It doesn't say anything about it in the instructions. It just says add icing when they're done. Now, I will let them cool for a couple of minutes before I go putting the icing on. And if you're blind like me, just wash your hands and use your fingers to do it, or you're going to have a heck of a mess. Plain and simple. No way around it. Alright, so my oven's already to temp at 375 Fahrenheit. Once again, I'm going to put them in for 10 to 12 minutes. If I smell them before the 12 minutes is up, smell them strong, I'm going to take them out so they don't burn. If I don't, they're going to go the 12 minutes, and then I will take them out. So I'll be back in just a few minutes. Alright, we're back. Now the first thing, I took them out at 12 minutes. I wasn't smelling them ahead of time, like the possibility I thought there may be. So they say until golden brown. Obviously, my blind butt can't see that. So I felt a couple of them, and I'm going to tell you right now, they were not done. So 12 minutes was not enough. So I set the timer for 3 more minutes, and they came out perfect. So 15 minutes is what it took for the 2 rolls. Now, especially if you're only doing one, I'm going to tell you, stick with the 12 minutes and check them. First thing I did when I got them out of the oven is using a spatula to break them free from the cookie sheet, because they're going to stick a little bit no matter what you do. Now, nothing actually stuck to my cookie sheet, but I still use a spatula to get them up. And then I put them on a plate immediately after. Why? Because the cookie sheet's hot and it will continue to cook them. So I've washed my hands, and now I am using my hands to dip into the little metal container of icing, and I'm using it to spread the icing over the top of my rolls. This is something that's pretty simple to do. Like I said, you might have a little issue when it comes to breaking them apart when you take them out of the roll initially. But as far as something to make, if there's just like 2 of you and you're doing 1 roll, and if there's a lot, see, I like this kind of stuff if you got a lot of people. Like, my brother's supposed to be coming home with his wife and boys in a few weeks, and this will be something I will make while they're here, because it's easy to make for a lot of people. I'll need to make probably 4 or 5 rolls, because his boys are 12 years old, and you know how kids eat. It's like trying to fill a bottomless pit, but it's easy. It's easy to do. It's easy to do. So keep that in mind when it comes to having to feed other people. The only thing that irritates me about this is, I've done this before, back when I had a lady friend stay with me overnight, and she's like, oh my gosh, these are so good. You did such a great job. It's like, did a great job doing what? Putting them on a freaking cookie sheet? I understand she was just wanting to be polite and all, but give credit where credit's due. Now, I took the compliments the times I made biscuits and gravy from scratch. Now, granted, I didn't make the biscuits from scratch. I didn't want to take the time to do that in the morning. But that was nice having a compliment on that. Kind of reminds me, my ex-wife was kind of a lunatic when it came to certain things. I'm not going to get into a lot of details, but she was one of those people that didn't want to admit you did something good. She actually had the nerve to tell me that packaged gravy, the stuff you get in a packet mixed with water, she's like, I just like that better. It's like, oh, I bet you do. The only person I've met in my entire life that prefers packaged gravy over made from scratch gravy. Another reason why I like to let the rolls cool before I go adding icing like what I'm doing right now is due to, if they're hot, it's going to melt the icing a little bit. So if it's melting the icing, then guess what? It's going to be running down all over your hand while you're making it. Now, if you're somebody who can see what you're doing and can sit there and use a knife, la-di-da, you're great, I know. It doesn't really matter. But if you can't see and you're having to pick them up and spread it around with your fingers like what I'm doing here, it makes it just a little bit nicer not having to have all that icing running all over your hands. Messy enough as it is. Messy enough as it is. And I've just about got the first plate done. Okay, let me see here. See if I've got any others on the plate that need attention. And that is all of them on that first plate. So I'm gonna go ahead and wash my hand off from that. Obviously, I'm going to lick some of the icing off. I'm still a big kid when it comes to some stuff. But I'm not going to sit and make you watch me ice the second plate. Like I said, it's not like I'm whipping something up from scratch. This is one of those easy things if you're trying to learn how to cook. It just helps build your confidence when you can make something. And I don't care if it's something like this, where you're taking it out of a roll and heating it up in an oven, cooking them in an oven. It helps build your confidence to where you're going to be willing to try to start making certain things from scratch. So keep that in mind, you know. So once again, subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. Don't forget to check out the podcast. And I'm going to have a pretty interesting one I'm going to record today for little MB on prison reform. So that ought to be interesting. As far as I'm concerned, it is. That's why I'm doing it. But anyways, any questions or comments, anything like that, don't hesitate to hit me up. The email address is littlemb6580@gmail.com. Until next time, y'all take care.